Hello, thank you for being with us. We're here, our new life series, educational series with Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello, Dr. Laitman. Hello, Nitza Mazuz. And you're welcome to join us. We hope we'll have a fascinating discussion about the healing of Israeli society. We want to learn from Rav Laitman how to unite all the different streams we have and become one body that lives well together, breathes well together, is happy together, and goes toward a new life. Rav Laitman, in our previous discussion, we looked back at history 100, 200 years back, and we wanted to identify the source of the split between the secular and the religious that is tearing apart the Israeli society. We learned lots of things, and in this discussion, we'd like to talk about healing Israeli society and understand how we can actually treat the split between the rift between the religious and secular. We want to imagine a situation where we're in a convention, where there's a few hundred participants, that includes representatives and people. It's open to the public, and there's people with an open mind, an open heart, and each one of them is living their lives. They each come from a different sector, and we have people there from all the sectors of Israel, religious, secular, and in each of them, there's all the different variations. They're all here together in front of us. This is the situation, and the goal of this convention is to come out with a practical method, to identify a practical method for healing Israeli society and become one blooming, thriving society. In this situation, we're going to invite you to speak at this convention, where we're going to define in the format of the convention some very concrete points that you have to emphasize, that your speech will be based on. We want an approach. We want to put together an approach for the secular audience, for the religious audience, and after that, we want to develop actual practical ways to connect these two streams. So the first question I'd like to begin with, I'll pretend I'm the host of the convention. The question over to you, Dr. Michael Laitman. How do you suggest approaching the religious population today to bring unity in Israeli society? I don't even know if it's a good idea to talk to them as to the secular, the religious. I don't know if it's a good idea to divide them like that. I think if it's a correct approach, it has to give a solution for everyone together, a mutual solution, not one on the account of the other. Then also we have to approach everyone together and not just to Jews, even to everyone in Israel, Arabs and the Druze and the Christians that we have here. There's a wide variety. There's a lot of faiths and religions and peoples. So the state of Israel is special because we have representatives of all the nations here. We carry from the exile different mentalities from other nations, our connection to those countries that we came out of, and it's all living. Therefore, we need to see here some mini model of the world. And we need to only talk to someone who's religious or secular or more religious or less secular. And whether they're they believe in that person or that person, we won't get out of it. I don't think our approach allows this in any way. I think it's just the opposite. It says the entire internal and external crisis. This is how you're talking to all the sectors in Israel. Yes. What we're experiencing now is a situation that's called a crisis. You can call it You can call it the exile getting even worsening. That after exile we feel an ascent of the ego and all the bad forces, the evil forces, nations breaking out, and a great collapse of our trend, this paradigm of our lives, of our general lives, secular, religious as one. We're all in a crisis. There's no sector, there's no part of the nation that is not living in a manner where everything's fine and everything's developing and everyone is in a crisis, is in a descent, has some kind of problems. Therefore, we need to identify the general reason for all these issues. And the general reason is quite clear and even agreed upon by everyone, that it's a person's ego that's reached such... people aren't capable of connecting with society, of being considerate, not in technology, commerce, culture, education, and not in communal life together. We're not capable of dividing the pie in the country in a just way. We're not thinking about the poor sectors of society, the single parents, the young couples, the soldiers who just got out of the army. There's 1,001 things that we need to look after in pensions and young couples, and no matter how you look at it, people are really getting thrown into the street and have no job, and how long will we be able to hand out to them even some kind of income? We have a very big problem, and it's not just us, it's the whole world. Actually, it's the entire world. If it was just us, then we would be able to somehow, maybe in the world it's better, maybe we can rely on something, get something from someone. No. The world is in even worse situations. So we need to understand that the problem is not just inside Israel, but it's a worldwide problem. So here, why am I saying this? Because we don't care, maybe? That's true. No, I want to say that it's not true, because our approach is actually so universal that it touches the whole world and it heals the whole world, and then we can get support from the external world. And in that, I'm emphasizing it, that if we take the approach that I'm about to present, then we will receive support from the external world. We will begin to be understood by the external world. We are opening ourselves to the external world as some kind of avant-garde, as frontiers, pioneers. And in that, we want to show everyone how this medicine that we found for all the evil of humanity, the problems of humanity, can be accepted by everyone and help everyone. So that's why I'm presenting the solution in a wider manner, and also a solution for the crisis. We are the center of the world from the perspective of the crisis between religions, in terror, war, peace and war. Everything. Whatever you say, we are some painful point and hurting the whole world. That's the whole world feels. It doesn't matter how right or wrong it is. That's how they feel. So if we treat this point, in that we will actually get such a waves of response that they will be felt in the whole world. And in accordance with that, we will be able to also receive the support for what we're doing from right from the start, from the entire world. And in that, we're going to solve the economic problem. And this is a problem that the whole world is experiencing, especially US, China, Brazil, developed countries, Europe, this whole special Europe, apparently. Everyone has this huge problem, and all the other countries are really scared that this wave of unemployment and poverty and all the problems that come with it will reach them. So if we will show everyone how much this method treats economy, then they'll start taking us into account, and they'll be supportive of changes. In that, we're inviting all our neighbors to connect. And if we go along in our approaching the world and approaching them, then it'll be very hard for them to oppose. So what's the approach, actually? Let's say we're solving the drug problem, divorce, all kinds of things. On the way, everything gets treated. The approach is very simple, which is a war, a direct war, face-to-face war with human nature, which is our ego. We have nothing else to do except fight it. And fighting it, we're not capable of, because we are actually in it. Until I'm in it, as long as I'm in it, I'm not capable of healing myself. But rather, what we have in our nation, and precisely in our special nation, are those threads of unity, those hints, those impressions we have from that connection we had at one point, where we were a nation in a land until the destruction of the temple and going out to exile. So we must begin educating ourselves with this education of integralness, unity. All of Israel are friends. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Don't do unto another as you wouldn't do unto yourself. One man with one heart. Because this is especially, specifically for, it was carried out by our country for hundreds of years, by our people. Many, many generations went through this education, and we need to renew it. We return to Israel, and we need to go back to the same format that we lived in once. It doesn't matter how we came back. We return to here representatives of 70 nations, not Jews. What am I Jewish? Because I was repressed by all the other nations? That doesn't make us Jews. We escaped from there, but we escaped from there, and on the way, we escaped from there as Jews. We reached here as Moroccans, Taimanim, Polish, Russian, Hungarian, etc. Persian, Turkish. On the way, from all the we left our Judaism there, and we came here as representatives of all those nations. We're here as a melting pot. We brought the exile here, and this varied exile. We have the ingathering of exiles here. There's connections in such varied ways and so mixed up within each other that it's hard to see what's happening. We came out of this exile. Just the opposite. We're turning it upside down. Against this background, we're reaching even greater divisions between east and west, north and south. Not just secular and religious, Ashkenazim and Sephardic. Between the religious, you also have these and those. Also the secular, I don't know, possibly less, but they're also divided. We've reached a state where this exile, these rifts, they live inside us, and we're even nurturing them. So, here, more than any other place in the world, precisely, is where these forces, this splitting, is increasing and is causing us truly very bad results in Israeli society. And we're losing a lot of power, a lot of forces in this manner. We feel ourselves abroad connected because we're not among the wolves. And then in a natural manner, instinctive manner, we're attracted to one another. When I'm abroad and I meet with the Jews and I go to the JCC or the other places there, Hillel, there's all kinds of organizations. In the universities, it's Hillel, and in secular areas, it's the JCC. The Jewish Community Center, there's all kinds of synagogues I went to. I used to talk in lots of them. So there's this intimacy. There's distance, there's identification. But rather here now, there people identify above all the different streams. There's no big difference, but rather the Jewish person that's Jewish, that connects us. And below that, we have all the other things. It might be white, black, yellow, red, a level of existence, what countries they came from. It's all under one hat that's called we are Jewish. Because we relate to ourselves just like the world relates to us. And there they relate to people whether you're Jewish, you're darker, you're lighter, you're religious or secular. That's it. And also the relations between the secular and religious is negative. There it's not like that. There Jews are Jews, that's it. Of course they want different education, but it doesn't cause a separation between us, divisions. I built this education and you built that education. We can even help each other because we have an interest to be as successful Jews as compared to the environment, the hostile environment. It's foreign to a certain extent that it's standing before us. That same approach, if we want to be connected, we have to have here in Israel. We see that for our neighbors, we could have thought that we would have a reason to unite, but it doesn't work like that. Just the opposite. The extent that the hatred is so bad between us that there's some people that it's easier for them to connect with our neighbors, with the Arabs, and not with Jews. And they go with them everywhere. They're close. They go on parades and riots and everything. We've seen these things in the past. In other words, we actually need to understand in our history, we have two options. One option that will wait until the entire world, and especially our neighbors, will come together against us. They'll connect between them to us, and then we'll feel here pressure, such a great international pressure, such hatred and pressure that it will obligate us to connect. That is called through suffering. It might happen. Why? Why do I say possibly? Because it's not worth it for us. I don't want to wait for that. There's another path that from now already we are educating ourselves correctly for education, even though there isn't that real external pressure. It's enough that we have this internal pressure that we're reaching. And the external pressure is coming. We see it coming closer. That we're not attracting these problems to us that can come, the pressures, the various pressures, but rather that we ourselves from the beginning are attracted to uniting. Because surely, if we increase the problems, we will find the powers to connect, because this always helps us. And any nation that starts connecting around that. So what we recommend is going according to our approach. Like we had at that time when we were one people in one land 2,000 years ago. B, like we need to be today, that we came back to that same land of Israel and that same nation of Israel, then we need to, according to that same method, we need to build the relation between us, this system between us. Also, through this, we will heal the entire multifaceted crisis that society is suffering from. We're in one of the first places in the world, in the most worst, the largest gap between classes and all those things. We are the most successful in what we shouldn't be successful at, Israel. And from day to day, we're descending. And apart from that, we don't have any ability to exist. We see the government can't rise up. It can't do anything. We see this conflict, this mutual hatred. What's happening in the government, it's just like we had before the destruction of the temple. Just like what happened with the temple, between all the priests and wise ones, and they were also in hatred. And there's plans, American plans, and our neighbors have plans, and in general, the plans in the world are to delete Israel. If today somebody comes and his recommendation is accepted to discuss the existence of Israel and the United Nations, everyone will say, we don't need it, there's no problem. But in the meantime, the UN isn't getting a suggestion like this. But if tomorrow it accepts it and they discuss it, then the entire world, I don't think there'll be one person that will say no. We already know it's like this, that for the existence of Israel, no one will vote for that. So what are we thinking? Just like once upon a time, we got an okay from most of the countries, we descended to a state where no one is for us. So can we go on like this? No, we see that truly according to all the plans, even the Americans, and in general, based on everything that's happening, we don't have anywhere to pack toward. No one will accept us. It's like what happened with the Jews going out of Germany. They went out to the U.S. with ships, to South America, and they weren't well received. In the end, they had to come back and go straight to Auschwitz, the concentration camps. So what's happening is that we're here in a very dangerous situation. And it's important, and it requires a decision and implementation. I'm not for nothing going from the internal things in to wider issues, because what happens in the country is 100% dependent on what happens in the world. And all our arguments here, like kids, are just playing and arguing between them at a certain state. If they don't take into account what's happening around them, then there's the few hours that they play together, and that's it. Therefore, we need to do such great calculations that the result will be felt in the world as treating the entire world. Because a good vibe, a good stream will come and wash the whole world. And then we'll receive not only support from the nations of the world, but we'll receive from them a different approach to us that we need. Not only that we deserve, but that we need. That we need in order to bring them the light of life, the method of existence. That without it, they have nothing to heal life with. They don't have any chance of saving themselves from that crisis that is developing and spreading throughout the world. The treatment is only through education and about fixing relations between people, because our ego, and that is what needs to be healed. It's throwing us out, the ego. It's not allowing us to understand the essence of life. It's bringing us to depression, to desperateness. We're not capable of creating good relations between us and industrial. We need to make a varied society, how to divide things equally, how to make a good rational division that's justified, how to divide the food between everyone. We don't know how to carry out anything in the society. And everyone can receive whatever they need in order to exist here. But rather, we're not capable because we're not connected properly. That's one thing. The second thing is we need to fill people with filling. It's called the feeling of life. That's what people are missing. They don't know why they're living. In the meantime, our entire trend was to keep him busy. They'll go and get confused by the TV and all kinds of things, just so he won't think. And that's why we're squeezing him out with our aggravation at home and at work and all kinds of other places. Just so he doesn't think. What will he have? He'll just have less. We ruined education by ourselves. Because the more ruined you are in education, you don't require higher things. So it's enough for him to watch football and see a show, and that's it. That's enough. If there was education, say, 50 years ago, and we wanted to rise them higher, then we reached a state where we said, like, no, we don't need any more education, just the opposite. If they'll be educated, what will they ask for? They'll all be philosophers, politicians. What do we need? There's 7 billion people. What are we going to do with them? We need them to be animals, creatures. And then we ruined education ourselves. We need to arrange education to be integral. If today we reach such a low level of education, it still endangers all of humanity, that they can be unoccupied, even if they have somehow to feed themselves, they'll still go out to the streets and cause riots and everything. We're already seeing this wave. If in the Arab countries it's like this, in America it can be the Nazi regime like we had in Europe, with one jumping on the other and there's no end to it. And this can spread to the whole world. We need to reach the new education, that we provide a person with filling of the new life. That is only through intimacy and connection. And this is how we can truly turn to, with education, we can turn to those people that we're teaching them and start teaching them that there's no choice. We need to accept the new approach to the world. The world isn't here for us to work physically. No. We've reached a state where we can very easily receive everything that we need. Everything that we need. There's no problem. There's no problem for us to work here just an hour a week. There's so much technology and so many options, but we close them off and we don't allow them to be used, because then we'll need to fire millions of more people. But if we reach the new approach, that people are dealing with education, that they're always working on spiritual work to raise themselves to this mutual connection. And this is a full-day occupation, apart from those people that need to, here and there, be in industry, commerce, and distribution. Everyone else, all the other people, and also those people, in all their free time, they need to be educated. Self-education. That is what will occupy people in this generation, in the next generations. At this point, I would like, with your permission, after you spread out this vision of yours, it's a global vision, a new stage that we have to take and see a whole new world with a new paradigm. The world needs to see us doing it, actually, that we're starting it here, and learn from this example. Okay, so here we're trying to understand this example and trying to begin implementing it. After we've drawn the map and we have the horizon, the vision of the new world, now we want to start implementing it. And this is the next discussion we want to have. I'm reminding you of the situation that we're in. We're in a convention. We have people from all parts of the Israeli society, with all the minorities, all the varieties that we talked about before, and we want to begin to understand how, from this philosophical level, we go to practical. Maybe, Nitsa, you should take it from here, how we can bridge between the opposite sides. I'm really surprised by one of the principles that's behind this approach that you said. I want to emphasize it. It seems to be a very significant principle. Instead of taking two parts that are fighting with one another, it doesn't matter who those people are, secular, religious, Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Doesn't matter. There's like an approach here that says we're not dealing directly with the conflict between these two people, but rather we're gathering the public at large, and we take into account that they, of course, have conflicts between them, and that's one principle. I'm not going into that kitchen at all. Yes. I think that's a principle that we need to truly understand, because until today, this is how we're attempting. When we go into, if we even theoretically go into, I don't even think, if we theoretically had to go into politics, we wouldn't go in like a party. We would go in as something that is between the parties, above the parties. So that's a principle that I wanted to emphasize, because I think that anyone hears it will understand that there's something entirely different here. And another interesting point, another principle, you're saying that we have one common enemy, all of us, and instead of fighting with one another, there's something that connects all of us, a common enemy that's at the basis of us all. And what's preventing us from connecting? Why is it evil? Because it's not allowing us to connect. Now, the moment we open this, there's an ability to listen, to hear. Now, we know from discussions, previous discussions, then in order to connect, we need to compromise. You talked about mutual compromise. You said, like in marriage, many times, in order to create a common ground, we need to come toward each other, we need to compromise. Here, is this also the correct approach? No, not at all. We don't need to compromise, give up anything. We're not dealing with that at all. How much I have to take from them and how much from them, and measure you and me and the middle, where we'll meet in the middle. No. That's politics. Those are diplomatic calculations, and that's not at all what we're talking about. That's why I'm saying this approach, after we see it, we see that there's no competition. It's entirely, it's only talking to the middle of everyone, that everyone needs to be connected around this one subject of unity. Whoever is not heading towards unity is not in this whole game. So the question is, how do we see who's with us and who's not with us? All the current interests, parties, of course, they'll be against us. Doesn't matter, right, left, secular, religious. Anyone who's in politics and wants through politics to profit in some way for himself cannot be with us. He won't be with us, because he wants to succeed on the account of the public. He wants to argue with the public to succeed. And we say no, success is not there. Success is in building a group of those same 120 people, and this group must reach a single solution, must sit together, must be in connection and balance. It must reach. Connection has to be there, mutual hearing, everyone giving up a little, seeing the group and others above him. All the conditions that we're bringing as necessary for connecting, we have to carry them all out. If these conditions, if we carry out these conditions, we'll reach the umbrella of unity or mutual consideration or love even, through which we will solve all our problems. We'll solve all our problems, because then when we reach it, we'll be balanced, we'll be united, we'll be in one region will be at one level. No one is more, no one is less, and we'll lose all the differences between us. They're somewhere out there. And then we're like a father with all kinds of kids playing down there. He thinks, what is good for everyone? The Orthodox say, this is what we need. Okay, fine. Everyone takes them into consideration also. The secular, they want this. Everyone's demanding something for himself. Fine. But from this general pie, and only on the condition that each of them, by receiving what we decide, is coming closer to the center. That our entire activity, everything that we do and distribute and treat, all the different parts of society, is to bring them closer to this connection, to unity. And not that we gave them 10 million there to some sector, and then they're living, they don't care about anything, and screw everyone. No, we're dealing with all these parts of the people to bring them closer to the center. Whoever doesn't want to, here, please, you have a different approach. You're free to go. There's lots of organizations in the world, like those organizations, people in the States, they don't get anything from the government. They collect money. Those Breslavs and all kinds of groups, all kinds of Hasidim in Borough Park there. I met them. There's people I know there. None of them receive anything. They all work. They all collect money. They do their education however they want. So in the beginning, in the meantime, we can have those conditions. But later, surely in the framework of the government, after we see how much our unity is working and bringing good results, then from this example, from education, we will want to influence everyone, even those that are apparently don't want to have anything to do with it. Why? Because they will also not be opposed to it, because this foundation is the foundation of all of Judaism. And it's a foundation of the secular education at its base. No one can say, I don't want to be connected to others. I'm not all for connection, love. I'm not all for participation. Those 10 commandments, they're accepted by all of humanity. Nobody can say, no, it's not okay. Respect thy mother, thy father. No, I don't want to. If you say that, it's like you're erasing yourself from human society. The same thing here. Our approach is such that we can't disregard it. We can say, yes, we are maintaining it in some way or another. Okay, let's see. It's possible. It's possible that in a special manner they have the approach, the cultural approach, to emphasize the principle, love thy neighbor as thyself. So be it. We need to reach a situation where this approach, this education, to educate people toward love of others, this education will be accepted, will be by the people. The people will feel a need for it, and they'll feel saved by this. And then we will be able to realize it. I don't know if it will come from the government or through an educational movement, and then pressure from below. It will begin to go into everything. I don't think ahead too much, because the changes will be very great in the coming years, even without us going into it or not. So I like to see something practical for now. So I'm going to give you something. Let's say around this table, we're in this convention, and let's say now we want to allow the participants to taste this world you're presenting. Let's imagine a situation where we're in a round table and we're 10 people, and each of us is from a different sector in society. We have the Orthodox, secular, those kind of religious, Ashkenazim, Sephardim, everyone. We have a whole salad of everyone's a different color. Everyone comes from their background. Everyone has a desire to create something new. I would like you to lead us now in a workshop that will give us a taste of the feeling of the new life that you're speaking of. You said that everyone has to be focused on the center, then everyone has to leave their isolation outside the circle. I would like you to really lead us to an actual exercise, not all of the public. Lead us in an exercise that will allow us to feel the uniqueness of the process. The most simple exercise. We're around the table. 10 people. Okay, it doesn't matter. 10 people. Everyone's from a different part of Israel. Let's talk how we feel in society, where everyone's in mutual connection, like in a family. That's it, simple. Everyone, here, you're first. Talk. How do you imagine? And first of all, get them into this feeling. Okay. Everyone speak. How do you feel? How should the country be? How should the society be? The relations in his village, in his city, every place, how we should arrange all kinds of things, education, culture, television, internet, everything to educate everyone to be as one family. It's all in your hands. What do you suggest? You start and we're going to strengthen you. Let's do it, not pretend. I think that when you spoke, I allowed myself to dream. So I'm dreaming about a different society where there's a place for each of us. We're 10 different people, and we're actually 10 different types of people in Israel. I have no idea how to go about it. Maybe you'll explain it. I'm fantasizing. In my fantasy, there's place for all these 10 colors. Nobody's repressing everyone. No one's limiting anyone. No one's trying to change or bend the other. It's the 10 flavors are living together in harmony. And everyone relates to the others in a good way and allows them to exist and gives them their space. And that's it. I don't have to protect myself from bad influences from the others, and they don't have to protect themselves from me. Everyone lives as they want to. That's my fantasy. I have no idea how to realize it because we don't live in 10 different countries. We live in one space that's called the Israeli society, in which it's impossible to not be prevented. I'm mixing up problems here. Is it okay? I explained the fantasy. This we were aware of. So you wanted me to fantasize? I fantasize. There's a place, and nobody's trying to bend the other. I'm sure now that if we go around the table, everyone will want what I want, because the example of family, consideration, connection, I don't want to feel pressure. I don't want anyone to convey to me, you're not okay, you have to change, you have to do this, that. They're always broadcasting to me something that you're doing not okay, and you're okay like you are, she's okay like she is. We're a family. It doesn't matter if we're like this, we're like that. We're considerate and we're loving. There's place for everyone, just like they don't want to change themselves, they don't want to change me. Okay, next stage. We fantasize to ourselves heaven on earth. What are we missing to be in it? That's the next question. We're missing to live in 10 different countries. That's what's missing. That's not realistic. We're talking about reality. How do we reach this? What are we missing to be in it? Let's say tomorrow we get up, go out of the house, we go do about our business, do all kinds of things. Everyone goes to work, to something, stays at home. How do you imagine to yourself how we maintain this kind of relationship? First of all, you turn on the TV and radio. What do you hear? I turn on my channel, and she turns on her channel, and you turn on your channel. What's on each one? What each one loves? What do you mean what they love? If I represent, but what do we need to maintain us in good relations between us? You have to get influence in accordance with that. Where you're fed from, radio, TV, internet, all those things. What kind of influence? Positive influence about connecting, the necessity of connecting, of being in good relations, songs, games, anything you feed off, what she feeds off. And we need, first of all, to change the media in a nice way. Not that we're blocking everyone off and not allowing them except a few cartoons. No. But rather the trend has to be very clear and rational for each and every one, each and every channel, their culture, their education. But there has to be a clear trend toward the people. Movies, TV series, that it's not me, the hero. There has to be first media influencing us. What other external influence do you have on you? That you go outside, everyone treats you nicely. That you don't drive down the street and everyone wants to bang into you and enjoys it. You need to see in the morning and the evening, you have to see drivers treating each other nicely. And also at work, that you'll have all kinds of series on TV that talk about the good relations at work. And also in fighting, and people need educations, need examples. What does he know? Everyone. Everyone. You and me and everyone. What do you mean? That we're all fed from the environment, and in accordance with that, that's how we behave. So to behave in a new manner, I need new examples. I need to come out with an inner baggage that's positive, and everyone else, that there's an atmosphere like that in the air. The kids that we send to school, they need to receive a very massive new education. They need to sit like we're sitting together now, this example, talking to each other, dealing with each other. That the teacher will be a teacher, a guide, and not just not just give them brains and not education. That when they play in the recess, they need to have good games that connect them. So I understand that you're talking about communication, enhancing communication. Say if we're 10 flavors, but education through all the various options. And this has to, in every sector, they have to get it on their channel. You ask me what I'm watching? We each have our channel. Even in your workplace, it has to be there as well. Every few hours, there could be a break for half an hour. And there they're talking about it, special educators, maybe on screens, or maybe a person actually comes to you, that you're in it. Through all these means, if I understand the process properly, we're trying to build a new atmosphere of integration. There's room for everyone, toleration. What if there's a conflict? I understand that I understand we need to raise the value of everyone together. What do we do when we get to a place where there's no right or left? Well, you want left, my sector wants right. What do we do? How do we solve it? War. This we know today. I thought you'll bring something new. I want you to tell me. Let's say you're in a family. They're fighting. I have 4 kids. There's lots. Now forget the 4 kids. You with your wife. There's sparks going from side to side, right, left. What are you going to hit each other? You can't. So what do you do? What do you think is beneficial to do? When you stop talking and she stops talking, you hug her, you bring her to the table, you sit down with a cup of coffee quietly, and you talk. We find a compromise at the end. What's the compromise? Why do we have the family? We do it for the sake of the family, for the sake of the kids, for the sake of the peace between us, right? First of all, we have to rise above it, above the conflict. To rise, to connect as a family. And now, when we're surely connected, we need to see the conflict as a good, beneficial thing. Now, if we're above the conflict, we reach even more connection. We have 10 kilos more connection than you hug her. Because of the conflict, to rise above the conflict, you have to hug her 20 kilos worth to make her feel good. A conflict comes, the conflict builds, that you raise the love through the conflict. And now you get it. Come on. All of creation, all of nature, it's all organized in this manner, that I will reach more connection, that I will feel my life there, that I'll feel my life more higher and better and warmer. You begin to look at what's happening with you, at this whole process that you're going through in life, and that all of humanity is going throughout history, and this crisis and everything that's happening. You begin to say, come on, we have an opportunity to reach a new level of existence, to feel something completely new and good, just the opposite. All these evil forces we can transform to good forces. That's called covering all our crimes with love. Precisely from this spark, you feel more taste to life. But you got to relate to it in a manner that you're building something and not that you're destroying. And it's just a matter of how our attitude, simple attitude. First, let's connect, and then we'll attract to our connection the conflict. We'll attract it to connect, because it's supporting the connection. And then we'll, first of all, we'll close the conflict and we'll head towards unity. We connected. Why did we argue? Why did we argue? How can we bring it between us? I compromise, you compromise. Each compromises, each is integrated in the other, each one understands the other. I'm inside you. In the space of disagreement, you're inside me in that disagreement. Each takes upon himself the desire of the other, precisely because it's an opposition, and everyone starts to be greater, wider. And then both of us reach strengthening of love. That's a new approach. We don't have it. We need to learn how to transition the bad to good. We'll learn. Thank you, thank you. Our time is up. Thank you, Rav Laitman. Thank you, Nitzam Azaz. Thank you for being with us. We'll learn together how to transform the bad to good. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, all the best and so long.